And part of being prepared is sitting down, taking some time, and doing some tax planning. Why can I talk about these things? Why? Because I'm an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the IRS to represent tax matters in all kinds, to represent taxpayers in all kinds of tax matters. Now, you can call my office at 828-289-9300. Make an appointment to speak with me. You can send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. This is a live program, so you can call right here at the studio, 828-287-3356. My engineer will be more than happy to write that. I'm giving these instructions as I'm telling them to you. If people call, feel free to write that down. Now, we brought you out of retirement. Did we bring out of retirement just to come to be here with my program?
That's right.
Just to be here for me.
Just for
Oh,
you.
Jim just makes me, he really cares about the program, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's why you got me.
That's why he got you, because I really cares about the program. No, he knows I couldn't do this by myself, because they told me, Gilbert, you can engineer your own program. I said, no, I can't. There is no way I can sit there and do both. Think about taxes and do this program. Well, last week I was in Florida, Hollywood. I was at the GWN Financial Planning Seminar. Learned a lot. Got a lot of new information to bring back. Still going through it all. It was good because it's the first, the first one that we've had because of COVID, the Wuhan virus. There were no live seminars, no live meetings all of last year, the year before, and it's not the same. People say, well, you can do Zoom meetings. It's not the same. Sitting in front of a monitor and watching somebody speak, listening to somebody speak, is not the same thing as getting in there, asking questions, and just being a part. There were about 650 financial planners, very, very top shelf people that they had speakers. The presenters were just some of the best, bringing us the latest and the greatest. The big news, I guess, or the big takeaway is we really don't have, in spite of what you're hearing in the media, we do not have a budget yet going forward. There's a lot of talk of a budget, and there's a lot of things being said. And normally, when we do this every year. This is the. You remember as a child, they had that musical chairs, and you always take a chair. You keep taking the chair away. So there's all these things the politicians want, but at the end of the day, what are they going to get? And usually, what's that last chair going to be? Usually, it's all very focused as to what they want. There's a general theme. So we know in the past, we knew taxes were going to get cut. By how much and what were the details, we didn't know, but we knew that was going to happen. Or we knew that they wanted to bring back certain credits. We didn't know what credits they were, but these credits were going to come back. So we try to tax plan, and we try to do what we can with the information we know. This year, it is all over the road. We don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think, I've been very busy. We're doing a lot of post-tax season work right now, so I've been very busy. I'm very selective of the news that I do hear, but I don't think they're anywhere near narrowing anything down. All we know is it's going to be around $2 trillion, which most people don't understand how much money that is. Trillions of dollars. A man at the conference used an interesting analogy. Do you know if you did 1 trillion seconds, do you know how far back that would go to? If you did 2 trillion seconds, how far back that would go to? People were saying things like the 1300s, the 1500s, the 1600s. If you did 2 trillion seconds, you'd go back to 30,000 BC. That is a long, long time ago. 1 trillion is a lot. And it's a lot of money they're talking about spending all at one time. So where's it going to go? We're not sure. But I'm going to try to help you make sense with some of that. Okay. Let me move on here. So last week, the big information was, there are 2 pieces of information that I shared last week. I'm sharing them again.
All right.
Social Security Administration announced a 5.9% cost of living adjustment. That was the COLA, the biggest COLA in 40 years. Okay, and as many of you remember, during the Obama presidency, we actually had years of zero cost of living increases because we had no inflation. So there was no adjustment.
Okay.
So to go from 0 to 5.9 in just 8 years is really incredible. To go to a 5.9 hike being the biggest hike in 40 years is even more incredible. The second thing in Social Security that was a big news was a September report that came out saying that for a lot of reasons, Social Security's funding was reduced by 1 year. What that meant was where Social Security was projected to be fully funded to 2035, 13 more years now. It's almost 2022. It's hard to believe. To 2035. Now they're saying it's fully funded to 2034. So they've taken a full year off the funding estimate. And there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of people pulled out of the workplace because of the Wuhan virus. We had a lot of people pass away. So you had a lot of people non-participant, but then there were a lot of people that passed away. We had higher than normal numbers, so that are not getting Social Security. So the full impact of it's not known yet, but they felt pretty confident to say that the funding is now to 2034. Caused a lot of people a lot of concern. Is Social Security running out of money? Will I see Social Security run out of money in my lifetime? Can I count on it? And legitimate questions. We don't know. What I feel is the government will not let Social Security fail. They've promised it for too long. There's too much money in it. There's too many resources set up. At what point are we going to revisit refunding it? Well, you see a budget for this year. Here we are at the 11th hour, literally. I mean, it's November 1st, Monday. We're literally the last 2 months of the year, and we still don't have a budget. We're still worrying about it. I don't think they're going to seriously approach this problem for a while yet. I think like 10 years. They're going to wait until this thing is almost a crisis before they do something about it. I think they're just going to keep it going the way it is. So we're going to keep our planning for this the way it is. People have a lot of questions. I've gotten a lot of phone calls. Should I retire early? Should I retire at 62? Should I wait until full retirement age? You know, what about earnings caps? What about spousal and children benefits? There's a lot of these things. And what is happening is a lot of people go to these break-even calculators that are on the internet. And I tell people to avoid those. Don't use them. I mean, they're an okay tool to get a feel for where you're at. Looking at me like I don't know. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. A break-even calculator is a tool that's online. SSA.gov has them. There's hundreds of them, thousands of them online. And you put in your information, and the idea is you try to figure out, should I retire at 62 or should I wait till my full retirement age? Full retirement age, depending on the year you were born, is either somewhere between 65 and 67. Okay, for most people right now, if you're 62 now, your retirement age is going to be 66 and 10 months. That's just real quick. There's a formula. It escalates every 2 years. It escalates every 2 months, and it takes it up to the new full retirement age, which is 67. Okay, and then there's the extended retirement age if you can wait till age 70. So the difference between waiting between 62 and 70 is a 72% increase in your monthly benefit. So there is a lot to think about here, but this is a strategy, and you need to treat it as a strategy because you need to look at your spouse's income. What is her share? What is her spousal share? There's actually a strategy where the husband waits till age 70, but the spouse can collect now. She would actually collect a larger portion. This isn't for everybody. This is I'm just trying to tell you, it's not cut and dry. There's a lot of things you can do. So you need to sit down and take a look at it and see what to do. Okay. And then there's Medicare, which is the topic I want to get into right now. Now, Medicare, Gilbert, why are you talking about Social Security and Medicare when you're supposed to be talking about taxes? Okay. Medicare actually has a tax component to it. and a lot of people don't realize this. The Medicare is a whole other program. Okay, at age 65, you become eligible for Medicare. It's the nation's health insurance program. Don't wait till 65, because you can do some early planning. So the key points of the program are, when you enroll, you need to decide if you're going to have original Medicare or Medicare Advantage. Okay. Now, if you're healthy at 65 and you don't have any health issues, Medicare Advantage may be a better deal, because the upfront monthly costs are typically less than original Medicare. But only original Medicare offers access to all the doctors anywhere in the country and that accept Medicare, and most doctors do accept Medicare. Medicare is a good plan. I'm not here to tell you to take Medicare. I'm just saying it is a good plan, because people will call me, I'm looking at this plan, that plan. I'm not a healthcare licensed insurance agent, and I'm not going to tell you what kind of insurance to buy. I'm just going to get into the tax implications of Medicare real quick, because there is a tax consideration. Okay, but it is a good plan, and most doctors do accept it. With most MA, that's Medicare Advantage, most MA plans, coverage is limited to a regional network of doctors and facilities. It's a lot like an HMO. So it's also important to understand that if you enroll in MA and then you become ill, in a majority of the states, you likely won't be able to switch to original Medicare. So that's a little thing you need to know when you decide on Medicare Advantage or original Medicare. Once you decide, in most states, you can't switch. Because what happens is the costs change. Let me get back. That's because it's imperative to add a supplemental private insurance policy. You'll hear it called Medigap, Medicap, I'm going to get it right. Medigap. It's a gap insurance, and it's a supplemental policy to original Medicare. People will buy it, and it's been a good deal for some people. It covers expenses that Medicare don't. Now, Medicare isn't free. Most enrollees, regardless of which program they choose, pay a monthly premium for a mandatory part of Medicare. That's Part B. Once you start drawing Social Security benefits, Part B is automatically deducted from your Social Security. It used to be that most people would turn 65, they'd start collecting Social Security, they'd start collecting Medicare. Or as one of my clients calls it, rocking chair money. He said, as soon as you start collecting that rocking chair money, he said, and you get them both. It's not that way anymore, because you've actually got people retiring at 62. You've got people whose full retirement age is 66 and 10 months, but Medicare's at 65. There's people that are waiting till age 70, Medicare's at 65. Okay? So there are some considerations here. If you're not collecting Social Security at the time you get Medicare, your Part B payments will either auto debit from your bank account, or they'll auto debit from you can have it from a debit card, or there's some plans you can make, but you're going to pay for it. Now, the per person minimum monthly Part B premium is 2021 is $148.50 a month. They couldn't round it up. They couldn't just make it a flat 150. It's $148.50. That's for a single enrollee with a modified adjusted gross income below, we're getting into the tax part now, below $88,000. And that's for a single. For married couples who file a joint return, the income threshold is $176,000. So, because you've still got people working at age 65, many couples now, and you've heard me say this on the program a lot, I have clients in my 70s that are working full-time jobs, not because they have to, but because they want to. They're 68, 69, 70, perfectly good health. They've done financial planning. They've done the things. They don't have to retire. They don't have to work. They choose to work. And I'm having that more and more. I actually have a lady. She's a firecracker, though. She really is. She's 82 and still works 30 hours a week. She loves it. She said it's what keeps her young. She gets out there every morning and goes to work. She has a retail job, and she absolutely loves it. She says she loves teaching the young people. Mm-hmm. So, you're having a lot of this. You're having a lot of these dynamics. So these income thresholds are important if you're still working, or if you have rental income, that is income, or if you have certain pension income, if you have certain annuity income, these are incomes and they will affect your thresholds. Okay, your Part B premium is based on your tax return from 2 years ago. So there's a look back window for calculating that Part B premium, and it resets every year. So they're going to look at your tax returns from 2 years ago. For example, your 2021 premiums are based on income reported on the 2019 tax return. And why do they do that? They do that because they don't want you rigging it for this year to the next. Now, that means they're texting me questions. This is why I don't like to give people my cell phone number. That's okay. Let me finish up this one thought, and I'm going to take a break. I got a good engineer here. He's watching out for me. See, Todd will just let me talk. Todd just lets me go. I know. You know, that's because Todd's Googling everything I'm saying. I have my own fact checker. And Todd is, oh yeah. He's Googling everything I'm saying. I don't know if he does it to stay awake or if he's just doing it just to do it. And then he's always got some tidbits that he throws in there. But you're on my break schedule. Give me a minute. Let me finish this one thought, because there's a lot of numbers I'm throwing out here. So the Part B premiums are reset each year, and it's a tax return with a 2-year look back. So your 2021 premiums are based on reported income from 2019. That means that if you start at age 63, you will want to carefully consider moves that could result in higher income reported on your tax return. And this is where, when you come to me and we do tax planning, I'll ask people things and they're like, well, I never even thought about that. That's why you come to me, because this is the stuff I'm thinking about. Okay, here's an example. If you do a big Roth IRA conversion, this is a big thing right now. I've done a couple of programs on it. Roth conversions. Should we convert our IRA from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA? That's a whole program, and I'm coming up to a break here. But what that would do is, in the year we did that conversion, it would show a lot of income for you, because what happens is we convert it and then it gets taxed right away. So that would affect these premiums. In addition to the Part B premium deductions, copays, coinsurance can add up to thousands of dollars for out-of-pocket. And the last thing I'm going to say is Medicare doesn't cover long-term care. So some of you may want to look at long-term care coverage. Just be aware Medicare does not cover that. Okay, so there is a tax implication to your Medicare decision. And I want you to think about it. Again, if you have any questions, you can call me. Let's go ahead and take that break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi, I'm Sandra. My husband Peterson and I own Precision Detail and Tint. We invite you to come to our new location at 620 U.S. Highway 64, Rutherfordton, on the corner of Silvers Lake Road and Highway 64. Whether you need specialty detailing for your car, RV, or boat, or window tinting for your automobile, or home or business, we can help you. Voted Best of Rutherford County for 11 straight years, you will know you will get quality work at a good price. Stop by for an appointment or call 828-245-8889. We're open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturday 9 to 1.
This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business. This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
We are back. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. We are on WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, watching me here live in the Blue Room. www.wcab59.com. Jim couldn't get 590 in the when he got the website. www.wcab, maybe he got a discount. www.wcab59.com. I always keep on saying 590, 590. It's AM 590. I'm live here in the program, 828-287-3356. You can call. My engineer this morning, Tom, brought out of retirement just for Gilbert Talks Taxes. That's the whole reason. Now, you were back last week, too, right? You were here last week.
No.
You weren't.
Todd was here.
Todd was here. Well, I was in Florida.
Yeah, I know.
I was at the GWN convention educational seminar learning about things that I can come here and share with people. See how I do. I give and I give, Tom. That's just me. I give and I give. Actually, people said, oh, you were down in Florida like it's a special place. No, it rained the whole time. And it wasn't that kind of rain that we have here. You know, that nice rain, lay down and take a nap rain. It was that hard driving, you can't see 10 feet in front of you. Monsoon rain. You can't see 10 feet in front of you rain. But when I go out of town to these conventions, and my wife will attest to this, I am laser focused. I usually don't even leave the hotel. I usually, wherever the convention is, I'm there. Well, because I'm like a child in a candy store. You've brought all these fantastic speakers from literally all over the country. There were speakers from literally everywhere had come, and there were even some people from large international funds that were there from several different countries. And what an opportunity to have all these people in one space together, that you can just walk up to them and ask them a question and start talking to them. I think it's one of the greatest things that our industry does, is get all these people together. And it was just fantastic. And of course, everything's there, breakfast, lunch, dinner, so there's no need to leave. But we had a great time. I'm going to talk about, I got a couple of directions I want to go in because I find all this so fascinating. Let me finish up. So we talked about Social Security. My advice to people is start planning early. Start looking at your Social Security. You can go to ssa.gov, create an account if you don't already have one, and you can see your information. Now, you remember years ago, Tom, they used to mail, every year you'd get that little statement. It was a 2-3 page little thing in the mail, it was a big square envelope. You'd open it up, oh, there's my statement. So the Social Security got away from that for several reasons. One of them was security. It's really nobody's business putting this in the mail. Family members were seeing how much Granny's getting every month. Yes. Oh, yes. I can tell you some stories about that. So, yes. So there was a lot of things so they stopped doing it, and now they're asking that you go and create an account, log in, and you can see your account. Once you have your login, once you create your login, you can just access it whenever you want. And it does change, especially if you're actively working, especially if you're working and your income is flexible or variable. If your retirement income is variable, it will change it. An example of people who really should be checking this quite a bit is people that are working commission-based, where you have, huge swings in your income. I know people that are in commission-based jobs where they'll be getting commissions in a year or two for what they're doing today. So you could go for 5 or 6 months and not have a lot, and then all of a sudden have 2 or 3 months where you get big checks. Again, it's part of their cycle. It's how they work. But because Social Security is calculated year to year, it can affect it, and there can be some changes. So I recommend you look at it. Definitely have your account set up, and it'll show you right there. It's funny because it looks just like what they used to put in the mail. When you pull it up, it's the same format. It looks the same way. So it'll tell you if you retire at 62, you retire full retirement age, what your full retirement age is, or if you go beyond and retire at 70, and there's a lot of tools in there. Now, I started to talk about the break-even calculators and what they were. And I tell people, avoid those break-even calculators. I didn't finish that thought. Why? Break-even calculators tend to skew to you taking early retirement. because it's only looking at the timeline. So if you retire, if you start collecting Social Security at age 62, yes, you will collect a smaller amount of money, but you'll collect that smaller amount of money for your whole lifetime. In most scenarios, that shows a total payout, because it's assuming you're going to live to a certain age, okay, which may or may not be. It may or may not be. I've seen people outlive their actuarial tables. I've seen people not outlive their actuarial tables. So nobody knows. Nobody knows what tomorrow's going to bring. But it uses a lot of assumptions. And almost always, it will show you that retiring, I shouldn't say almost always, often, it will show that retiring early, you're going to get more money over your lifetime. But in light of using other strategies that I shared about earlier with the spousal and the children's benefits and a lot of other factors, that might not be the best hand to play. There may be other things. That's where I come to have a meeting with somebody, talk to your accountant, talk to me, talk to whoever you need to talk to, but just have another set of eyes look at it with you, because that's not always the case. I tell people avoid those break-even calculators. They're okay as a reference point, but not as the final decision maker, because it's not just about the total amount of money you're going to get for your lifetime. Okay. I talked about wills and estates last year, and this week I had a situation that why I want to share this information. Choose your executor carefully. So there was a situation that happened where we have an executor who is not doing the right thing. Let me just say it that way. Know that the executor of your will is supposed to be carrying out your wishes, and he's supposed to be doing what's in the will. If you set up a trust and you have a medical POA and you have a POA of power of attorney, please choose that person well. And let that person know that they're the executor. I've had several situations where the executor that was appointed or whose name was written down on paper actually did not know that they were the executor. The executor has responsibility. The executor is actually personally liable to make sure that taxes get paid. The executor is on the hook for this. And I'm really flattered. I had somebody ask me if I would be their executor, which I thought was just, they've known me for many, many years, and I handle a lot of their things, and they said, would you please be my executor? I can't. I can't, because I am a fiduciary. I have securities licenses. I have insurance licenses for variable and fixed, and I have I do life insurance. I don't sell life insurance as just to sell life insurance. Like, it's not Gilbert's Insurance Agency. I use life insurance as a component of a financial plan. I use life insurance to achieve certain goals and guarantee certain outcomes. Let me just say it that way, to ensure the life. It's sometimes they're just a very small term policy will do what I want it to do. So I use life insurance as a tool. So to do that, I am fully licensed. So because I have these licenses, I cannot be, FINRA will not allow me, my back office will not allow me to be a trustee or an executor. But that's great that people, at least they're thinking outside the box, because everybody thinks, well, let me just have my brother-in-law, or let me have my brother, let me have my sister, or let me have my children as executor. Think it through and really pick an executor that's going to use wisdom. And you children, if you are the executor, remember the scripture to honor your mother and your father. It's the only commandment with a promise. Because if you do honor your mother and your father, it'll go well for you. And if you don't honor your mother and your father, it will not go well for you. This is still their money. This is still their property. It is their estate that you have the privilege of handling. And you're expected to do the right thing. Okay? It's not about you. and it's not your piggy bank. And if there are beneficiaries and other heirs involved, you're supposed to be considering them also. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be considering them above all else, because the beneficiaries are the recipients. So I'm just saying that please think this through. Those of you that have not had your will looked at in many, many years, you may want to do that. I've actually run into several scenarios where the executor is now incapable of being an executor, whether they're just age, or we had one where the executor passed away. So what do we do now? So please, and the executor passed away a long time ago. This could have been resolved a long time ago, but they didn't think to do it. So please review these wills, review these, consider your executor well, and consider what you're going to do. Let's take another break. Tom is looking at me. Yes, that steely-eyed engineer glare. It's time to take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
I want to tell you about another great local business, Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949. Sean is a licensed general contractor. He can do your job from site development to completion. That's Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949 and tell him Gilbert Talks Taxes sent you. People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, right here on WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Again, let me recap. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. I'm a financial advisor. I prepare tax returns, and based on your individual financial information, I give you advice on what to do to keep your money and grow that money. That is what I do. That is my purpose for being in business. My engineer this morning, Tom. And that's really what makes me different from other tax preparers and financial planners. I understand that every financial decision is a tax decision. Every financial decision has a tax consequence. And we are in that kind of an era right now where nothing happens in a vacuum. Nothing. Oh, I think I'll sell my house. Really? I'm going to get into that now about capital gains and capital gain exclusions and all of that. I'm going to talk about that next. There is no financial decision that is not a tax decision. There was a lady who decided, she came to me because she decided to, she's getting ready to retire, and her son, she had a lot of just antiques, and just a lot of things she'd accumulated over a lifetime, and a lot of it had some value, some beautiful artwork and some things, and she wanted to sell it. So her son said, well, let's do this online. There's Facebook Marketplace and Etsy and eBay, and because her stuff was very nice. So they did. And over the course of several years, they sold a lot of things for a lot of money, and she got a 1099K from eBay. Oh, yes. And so she didn't know what that was, put it away, and 2 months later got a bill from the IRS for $10,000. Yeah, they wanted some of that money. Now, because she didn't know. If she would have taken care of it on the front end, it never would have happened, but she just didn't know. So even you think, well, I'm just going to sell some, because she was wrapping down. She was starting to thinking about moving into senior housing and just cleaning out the closets. And so who would have thought that a yard sale could get you in trouble with the IRS? It can in this environment. You need to know. But there are ways to avoid it, and that's where I come in. So again, that's what makes me different from the tax preparers. I understand this. I understand the implications of financial planning. Now, a lot of financial planners will tell you, oh, we're going to do this and you have to pay some taxes. And they tend to leave it at that, because I've had the people come to me. Then I'm like, well, what does he mean by that? What is he going to do? So we tweak it a little, whereas I can tell you, I'm going to do this and it's going to cost you this much. And again, that's what makes me different. And we'll also pay attention to details, because what's the old saying, Tom? The devil is in the details. And is that not the case? So we were talking about being an executor, a trustee, being named in the will as the executor, being named as a trustee of a trust. And Tom shared his story with me. He's kind enough to share with me about, these were both your aunts, and they passed away 18 days apart, and you were executor for both. And this happened in the 80s, and he's still shell-shocked by it. No, I have people come to me, and they tell me this story like you just did, and I'm like, well, when did this happen? And they'll say, oh, it's 30 years ago. But they remember it like it was yesterday, because it is an experience. And if you're not prepared for it, now you did know you were going to be the executor before they passed away. Yeah, and it still caught you off guard. Well, and having them both pass 18 days apart adds to it. It's not like you did one, because once you've walked the whole process through like I have, once you've walked it through several times, you kind of know where you're at. You know where the thin ice is, and you know what the courthouse is going to expect. You know what the debtors are going to expect, and you know what the IRS is going to expect. So once you've done it a few times, but if you've never done this before, you're there in the dark. And please don't go Googling it. I mean, you're going to get everybody's opinion, and half of these things, no, 90% of them don't apply to you, and everybody's got a horror story about what happened to them. But it can be a simple process. It can actually be a rewarding process if it's done right. I mean, at the end of the day, aren't you glad you did it? And everything worked out great, and you knew that their wishes were done. But your story, and the reason I'm repeating it, is you're not an isolated case. We have, and this is sad, this is what happens often, especially the older the couples are and the longer they were married. And I just had it happen in February. You will have one spouse pass away, and then typically within 30 to 60 days, the other spouse will pass away. It's just, I don't know why that is, but it is. And so I've had several clients come by, well, mom passed away, and if it's clients I'm working with, I prepare them, and I tell them, this is what could happen, so let's start thinking ahead. What if this happens? And because we can do some forward planning on it. And so many times it's the case. And it happens in your case, 18 days. I've seen it happen 7 days apart. It is the one. I've actually seen it happen days apart, but I've never, as a client, I've had it 7 days apart. So, but it can be a rewarding process as long as you're ready and you're ready for it. So again, please get an attorney. Look at these wills. Get an attorney. I am not an attorney. I'll be more than happy to look over. If you're my client, I will ask you to bring me your will. I will ask you to bring me your estate documents. I will scan them. I'll keep them in your file. That way I have a copy of it, which is very, very good thing to do. And that way I'm aware, I'm in the loop. But I am not an attorney, and I'm not giving legal advice. I am telling you, go get an attorney. But get an attorney that does wills and trusts and estates, that it is what they do as their primary practice. I know that there are attorneys that they practice in several areas, and they're good in all those areas. But there's a lot of nuance to this. There's a lot of tax law, and there's a lot of estate law and elder law. Really get somebody that knows what they're doing. The dividends will be there. They'll pay off. Okay. Did I give my contact information lately? No, I have not. Let me give it again. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. My email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. I have two offices. I have one here, 113 Whiteside Road in Rutherfordton. I have one in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off Tryon's historic downtown. Same telephone number gets you both locations. Now, earlier, I talked about, and I'll probably spend the rest of the program talking about this. Capital gains. Capital gains. What are capital gains? Capital gains are you buy something for $1, you sell it later for $5. People would think, well, I made a $4 profit. What actually you did is you made capital gains. You made a gain of capital on that asset you held. Now, if you hold it for business or as a personal investment, doesn't matter. You still have to pay capital gains. Now, capital gains could either be positive or negative. You can actually have what's called a capital loss. Typically, you see that when people sell stocks. They'll buy stocks. They'll buy high and sell low. Tom, that's usually what they do. Yeah, and I tried telling them, please let me handle this for you, because what we want to do is we want to buy low, sell high. Okay, that's usually how I want that to work. But sometimes people do buy high and sell low. They now have a capital loss. And this is where a lot of the strategy comes in. Capital losses, I don't care how big the capital loss is, you can only take a negative $3,000 a year on your tax return. But capital losses offset capital gains. So there's a lot of strategy here. If you have investments going into retirement, if you have investments, for tax planning purposes, there's a lot with capital gains. There's a lot to be aware of. But where most people run into capital gains is when they sell their home. Okay, we're talking about the house that you've been living in for the last 30 years. And we are right now in I don't even have a word for it. This real estate market that we're in, who would have thought, let me say it this way, if I would have told you 5 years ago that you could be selling your house for $20,000 over list, people would have turned the radio off and said, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's move on. If I would have come here on the air, I started this program in 2014. If I would have come here in 2014, that's a good point, 2014, 7 years ago. If I would have come on the air in 2014, especially in the spring of 2014, if I would have come on the air, and I say it's the spring because, of course, that's before all the election, before everything that's happened. I come on the air, and I say to you, Tom, that house you're in, you're going to list it, the house that you paid $100,000 for, you're going to list it one day for $250,000, and somebody's going to come along and they're going to give you $270,000. You'd call Jim and you would tell Jim, I don't think Gilbert's qualified to have a radio program. But I think this is, and I would have agreed with you. I would have agreed with you. But that is exactly what is happening now. It happened in my neighborhood. They listed a house for $275,000, which I thought was a great price. Which right there, let's start there. They bought the house for $160s, I'm thinking, originally. $160, somewhere around there. That's about right, $160s. And they lived in it, 14, 15 years. Sold it. The first day they listed it, 3 people came. 2 of them made offers right then and there in the house. Made offers right on their smartphone. The real estate broker got his little phone out and right then and there texted the office and said, get an offer in. One of them was $5,000 over. One of them was list. The other one was $5,000 over list. Then he got nervous and bumped it to $10,000 over list because he was afraid he was going to lose the deal. So he got back to the office with the realtor and told the realtor, you know what? They had already made the offer for $5,000 over. He saw other couples pulling up to the house. He got nervous, thought he was going to lose it. And he probably would have. Made it up, bumped it to 10. Who would have thought that was going to happen? So this is all great news. But this leads to what's called primary residence or principal residence capital gains. And that is taxable. But there are exclusions if you follow a few rules. Let's go ahead and take a break, Tom. We're going to come back and I'm going to talk. How do you like the way I set that up? Is that good? Is that good radio right there, Tom? Great. That's great. Yeah, I'm going to get into it. There's some rules, and if you don't follow these rules, you can be the tax can be $25,000, $30,000, $40,000. primary residence, people have made gains of 200 and 300,000 on these homes. I'm going to get into all of that. WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes.
This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you. I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. People are texting me questions. Let me answer. I'm wrapping up answering this. Oh boy, capital gains. That got people all. Oh yeah, that got them. That got them. People want to know about capital gains. Yeah. Well, so what's happening now in the housing market? And the reason I specifically talked about this right now, and I want to talk about this whole thing right now, is because, and I'm actually going to probably be talking about this over the next few weeks, because people are selling these homes for this high appreciation. Also, if you're handling an estate and you're doing some estate planning, be aware that you've got this thing. So principal residence gain exclusion. And it's not just enough to say, because everybody pretty much knows in the tax prep world will tell you, oh yeah, no, you're excluded. Your primary residence, your principal residence is excluded. If you're single, you can make up to $250,000 of gain tax-free. If you're married filing joint, you can make up to $500,000 gain tax-free. And everybody said, well, I'm not going to make that kind of money. Well, a couple of years ago, that might have been the case. But now we are actually running into cases where people are bumping up against that and coming close to it because we're having that kind of gain in homes. I mean, there are people that bought, or especially people that built. You remember, Tom, back in, well, I mean, it's always been, but it seemed that, and let me go back in history a little bit. So Jimmy Carter's president. Tom, you cringe when you think about that. Jimmy Carter was president. Not that Jimmy Carter, but at that time we had super high inflation. We had stagflation. We had super high inflation. We had interest rates at 17.9%. I mean, I remember friends and customers, clients that had mortgages 18.9%, 17. I mean, those are credit card rates today. And today, if somebody has a 3.75% mortgage, they're shopping it to see if they can get it down. Back then, if you had a 16.9% mortgage, you had a good deal. And where did you get it? People were asking you, well, what bank did you get that at? So after Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan became president, a lot of monetary policy changes, and interest rates literally plummeted. They went down to 9%, which today is ridiculous, but 9.9%, 8.9%, 7.9%. For some people, this was a double-digit decrease. I mean, their interest rates went down 11%, and there was an injection of money. So in the 80s, a lot of people built homes. Construction loans were easy to get. There were loans that let you, so you would get a loan to build the home and then you would refinance it into a traditional mortgage. That was a big thing, mid to late 80s, early 90s. This was a thing. A lot of homes got built. A lot of subdivisions, especially in the late 80s. A lot of subdivisions got built. Florida, Illinois, especially in the western suburbs of Illinois, many large subdivisions got built. Okay, so people built these homes. They built these homes for, and I'm just again making up numbers just to show where we're at with it. They built homes for $80,000, which at that time was a lot of money. You built a home for $79,000. You had, your traditional 3, 2.5, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom type home on a quarter acre in a subdivision, $79,900, $89,900, whatever. Today, that same home is worth $329,000. And that's not an out there number. Again, 7 years from now, you'll be looking back. Gilbert sounded crazy when he said that. $329,000, $379,000. So you're making $220,000, $250,000 on a home. So when you turn around and sell that house, you now have to pay taxes on that gain. So you're excluded to $250,000 for single person, $500,000 for married filing joint. And you get into the whole thing about cost basis. So cost basis is typically what you paid for the home, what your investment in the home is. Now, if you've done capital improvements to it and you've done major, that can also go to your basis. And when you sell the home, all of your closing costs. So you've got the closing costs when you bought it, closing costs when you sold it. That all goes to your basis also. And there's a few other, basis rules. And don't assume, and this is something I tell people now, don't assume that just because you're married filing joint today is you're going to be married filing joint when you sell the home. Because, people do pass away and people do get divorced. So I always tell people, think of that contingency planning. Okay? Now, but the good news is there are married couples that file married filing separately for whatever reason. And there are many reasons why you would do this. Married filing separately. Usually it's for asset protection that a lot of people do it because they're they have a lot of assets, they have a lot of investment property, and they want to keep it separate. So that if for potential, especially if there's investments that are very highly tax favored or highly tax implicated, these spouses may want to separate their assets. It just makes everything simpler. But married filing separate, you're each entitled to the $250,000 separately on your tax return. Okay, so we just have to split this, and we split the capital gains evenly. Okay, so I can't mix and match. Evenly, we split this. Now, what if there is a scenario where you lose money on the sale of your home? This happened more back in 2007, 2008, 2009, when people were upside down. You've heard that expression, Tom. I'm upside down on my home. Upside down means you bought it for $300,000, whatever reason, and there were a lot of reasons. Back then, mostly people bought houses that were artificially inflated. That's the bubble. When they talk about a bubble, you bought it in a bubble. You bought an inflated home in a subdivision, or you bought it and it just wasn't. You paid $325,000. Well, it's not just that you paid $325,000. The bank loaned you $325,000. Is really what happened. They were willing to loan you the money on it. You were willing to buy it. Was the house really worth that? No. So now when it comes time to sell it for whatever reason, the house is only worth $200,000. So you actually lost $100,000. There were a lot of things called short sales, things like that. You cannot take a capital loss on this. You can on stocks, you can on business, you can on a lot of things, but you cannot on this. So if you lose money, you lose money. And you can't take your exclusion limit and do that. Okay, so married filing joint gets the $500,000. Married filing separate, they each get the $250,000. Okay, so there's more to it Because most people are like, yeah, I know that, Gilbert. I searched it on Google, and Google told me that. Oh, it's not that simple, folks. There's always more, okay? You have got, you can live in the house. If you live in the house 2 of the last 5 years, because you get into this whole topic of what is a primary residence. We're running out of time, aren't we, Tom? I know. This is Todd's problem with me all the time. I just get started talking about the topic, and I'm starting to get the 4-minute finger. Was that 4-minute fingers? I've got 4 minutes left, give or take. You need to want 2?
2.
I used 2 talking about the 2 minutes I have. Really? That's all I have is 2 minutes?
Well, coming up 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. I can see I'm going to have to talk about this next week. I really can. Because it's just, I've still got, I don't even know how many pages on my slides to go over to talk about. That's okay. I'm still on capital exclusion basics. Okay. So there's the topic of what is your primary residence, especially if you have a situation where you buy a house, you buy the next house you're going to move into. This might happen where people are relocating because of work, or they're moving to another state. Whatever the reason, you already buy your other house. So technically, at some point, you have 2 primary residences. So that's why there's some rules about the amount of time that you can live in a house. And then some people will put the house up for sale. Not in this market, you're not having this problem, but in prior years, they couldn't find anybody to buy it right away, so they thought, well, I'll rent it. So you may rent it for a year while it's on the market and you're selling it. You can that still counts as your primary residence. It still counts as your principal residence. Another scenario where this might happen is there was and I actually had this with a client. That's why I had to read up on the rules to make sure it was okay. Client has the house for sale. The client that bought, or the person that bought it, had to sell their house up north somewhere, and their company was actually paying for the move. 1 minute left at that time. The company's paying for the move. So they came up to an agreement where the buyer was going to go ahead and rent, and I'm using the little air quotes, they were going to rent the house for 12 months while they wrapped up everything they had to do, and the company was going to guarantee they would buy the house after 12 months. So you had the client rent the house for 12 months, and the same buyer just stayed in it. But on paper, it was a 12-month rental with a buy. Yes, that still counts as your primary residence, even though you didn't live in it for those 12 months. Okay? So there's a lot of rules with this. I'm going to get into it. Oh, Tom, wait until you hear about the 2-year exclusion period. I'm telling you what, that'll keep you awake. Okay, I'm going to get into that next week. Thank you for listening. I will be back next Saturday, 8 a.m., Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
From ABC News.
Get your message to the thousands. Call the WCAB Sales Department today at 287-3356.
Vaccines for kids could come by the middle of next week. The FDA authorized Pfizer's vaccine for kids age 5 to 11. And Texas mom Leslie Lopez tells ABC.
Being able to get that vaccine is going to give us a little bit of peace of mind.
ABC's Janae Norman has more on how parents feel.
A Kaiser Family Foundation poll finding just 27% of parents say they would get their children vaccinated right away, while another 33% say they would want to wait and see. Some parents also expressing concerns about the dosage for children ages 5 to 11. It's 1/3 the size of the dose for kids ages 12 and older.
But pediatricians say in studies the Pfizer vaccine produced the same level of immune response in kids. COVID-19 is also on the agenda at the G20 summit in Rome. World leaders today are set to endorse a global corporate minimum tax. President Biden will meet later with the leaders of Britain, Germany, and France to discuss Iran's nuclear program. Friday, he sat down one-on-one with the French president to smooth out diplomatic tensions. ABC's chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega has more from Rome.
In front of the cameras, President Biden and France's Emmanuel Macron arm in arm and laughing it off. A stark contrast to last